Good morning. Today is 27th of October and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, in the today's video, we are going to discuss the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper. We'll take all the articles with the background as well as we'll see the way forward and the relevant suggestions wherever it is required. Now, before starting, I would like to tell you that you can download this explainer PDF. In this explainer PDF, you'll get the notes of all the articles that we have discussed and you can use these notes as you follow the video. The link for the Telegram channel has been given in the description box in the YouTube. Moreover, you can visit the Telegram and can search their channel by typing Thinking Palette by Sahil, and there you'll get these notes. Fine. And in the last also there is a mains practice question that has been given particularly from the articles that have been there in the news. Now, before starting, let's take the overview of the entire newspaper so that we can understand that actually which article are important for our examination, and the objective of showing you the overview is only one, so that you can also identify at your own that which articles are to be seen and which articles are just to be read within the headlines and which article are not important. Now, the first article, Kerala governor government duel over the minister's talk. Now you see this particular thing. This is a kind of a political issue that is going on in Kerala, but at the behind there is the governor versus chief minister's controversy that is going on, and what is the scope of the pleasure of the governor. That is something that we are going to discuss. Political aspect is not important, but the academic aspect we'll see. Then moving on, after that Tamil Nadu seeks NIA probe into the car explosion case. After that, coming into the regional section. So guys, in the regional section, the regional political issues, news, etc. has been given, not important for our examination, so we will be skipping that thing. Moreover, see, as you might be having some different edition of the Hindu newspaper, understand this particular thing, that these kind of a political issues that are going on, they are not important for the examination, so we need to avoid it. Okay, now guys, the article has been written in a kind of a literary sense. Article has been written in a literary sense. Okay, so with respect to the UPSC, the basically academic content is less. Then moving on, making sense of outreach to Pasmanda Muslims. So guys, we will see this particular article and we'll understand that how within the Muslim communities the existence of class has been there, which is now being addressed. We'll see that thing. Then the job and the man. So the Mr. Rishi Sunak has become the new prime minister in the Britain. So the article is talking about that he needs to make sure that he addresses the issues and basically should not repeat the mistakes of his predecessors in trying to please the party. Okay, so this is something that has been provided, but guys, understand this thing, that by the time you'll write your exam next year, okay, we would have got a better clarity that how Mr. Rishi Sunak is performing vis-a-vis India and UK relations are concerned. So this article, no need to go in this particular thing. Okay, then unkind hike. So this article talks about the basically the hike into the small saving schemes that has been done. So 0.1 to 0.3 percentage point hike has been there. Okay, now guys, understand this particular thing. The hike into the small saving schemes is because of the inflation that has been high into the past 9 to 10 months. Okay, and this particular hike has now this inflation has consistently been outside the tolerance band of the monetary policy committee. So as per the monetary policy committee, inflation should stay in the band of 2 to 6%, but it has been higher than the 6%. So therefore, on the small savings scheme, the interest rate hikes have been given. However, guys, you don't need to see this particular thing that okay, 0.1% or 0.2% or in which scheme what particular percentage of interest rate hike has been there, because such kind of things are not important for our exam. Secondly, these kind of things might change from time to time. Okay, these things might change from time to time. Okay, guys, just a minute. Is the sound okay? Is it audible or not? Okay, can you confirm, is it audible? Okay, so that is about it. And then moving on to the next article, improving access to entertainment content. Okay, now this particular article talks about that how this article talks about that the entertainment content, etc., it is not disabled friendly. So we'll see what have been provided in this particular article. Despite crackdown, pollution spikes sharp in the south and the west. Now the article is talking about that how much pollution is emitted by the different kind of firecrackers, snake tablet, okay, pulls, okay, and flower pot. So you don't need to track that, okay, which firecracker emits how much of the pollution, okay, and the article is telling in different cities what was the pollution after the Deepavali festival, okay. So no need to go in this particular article, not very much important. Then moving on, the finance minister's call for industrial investment. So we'll see this particular article with respect to the exam. Why did the market regulator fine Bombay Dyeing? Okay, so the Bombay Dyeing company has been fined, and for that particular thing the article is explaining the reasons. However, for the exam the article is not much relevant, okay. Then how the queen of crime used nursery rhymes to weave mystery novels. So guys, this article is talking about the Agatha Christie's, and then there were none. So this was a novel, okay, and in the novel the story of there is a story which is being told. It is a mystery story where certain people were stranded on an island, okay. Now this is a bibliography article. In bibliography article there are certain of the novels, etc., and their plot line, etc., is told, okay. The article doesn't contains much of the UPSC relevant substance. However, if you are interested in fiction, then you can read this particular article, but for UPSC the article doesn't contains much of substance. Then moving on, no side should resort to nuclear options, Rajnath tells Shoigu. So basically guys, Russian defense minister with the Russian defense minister, the India's defense minister had a kind of a dialogue, and in this particular thing there are certain apprehensions that India has reflected. We'll see that particular thing, okay. Then guys, moving on, the panel studying the child marriage bill gets time to file report. So you might be knowing this particular thing, that from past 1 year there is an issue that is going on in the news, that whether we should increase the minimum age for the girls to get married. Right now as per the PCMA, that is the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act 2006, the minimum age for marriage is 18 years for girls and it is 21 years for boys. So there is a proposal that should we increase the marriageable age of girls from 18 years to 21 years. For that particular thing, government even constituted the Jaya Jetli Commission. Jaya Jetli Commission was also constituted by the government, and the Jaya Jetli Commission has suggested this particular thing, that yes, government can increase the marriageable age of girls from 18 to 21 years. Okay, now this particular thing is being studied, okay, because guys there have been many of the oppositions, and I'll tell you briefly the biggest opposition that has been there. So the biggest opposition that stands is simple, that guys see, as per the National Family Health Survey 5, even today 23.3% of the girls, 23.3% of the girls are getting married before the age of 18. So the point is that we have not implemented up till now even the 18-year age limit. So without implementing that, going to 21 years might not solve the challenge on the real world. So first of all, you need to implement the existing limit of 18, because even now 23.3% girls are getting married. So that is something we need to address, okay. Now basically guys, as we talk about this particular thing, a parliamentary standing committee on education, women, children, youth is studying this particular panel, and now it has been given an extension, okay. So that is something that has been provided. Beyond that it is nothing. So we'll see that what finally be suggested by that, okay. So now the extension has been given, okay. Amit Shah to brainstorm on internal security issues with state home ministers, okay. So basically guys, there is a kind of a Chintan Shivir, okay, a kind of a brainstorm session that has been organized. So as it will happen, okay, it will be held on 27th and 28th of October, that is today and tomorrow. So what will be the outcomes, that is more important, okay. So when it will be conducted, we'll see that. Then GEAC gives its nod for commercial cultivation of GM mustard. So we'll see what is GM mustard, what is GEAC, and what are all the issues around that. We'll see that. Then moving on, in speech, minister spoke of Kerala's democratization of education. Now guys, this is the same issue where we have seen that the chief minister and the governor of Kerala are in tussle. We'll see that particular article. Then the other articles are political articles, not important. ISRO to boost Navic, widen user base of location system. So we'll see what this Navic is and all those things we'll see. Science must become the priority of space mission. We need more money for it. Okay, so guys, this is an interview. This is an interview with Mr. S. Somnath, the ISRO chief, and he had said that we now need to promote the science and more money needs to be given for such kind of a science projects. Okay, so we'll include this here only. Then bats evicted from Manipur cave for tourism, says a study. So guys, it has been said that just to make a cave tourist friendly, the bats have been killed there, and basically many of the bats were from the category where they where their populations have been very much endangered. So that is the issue. Then moving on, Britain's new PM Rishi Sunak delays crunch budget plan. Now see, as the new prime minister has been appointed in the UK, you don't need to track day-to-day developments, that okay, what happened on this day, what happened on that day. That is not something very important. Okay, amid claims of dirty bomb, Putin surveys nuclear drill. So we'll understand what is this dirty bomb is all about with respect to the prelims examination. We'll see what does it is, what it is. India is a major exporter of vaccines, US. Okay, India imports from China surged to record high in the first 9 months of the year. We'll see this particular article. Even yesterday there was one article that we have seen where it was said that though imports have increased, but actually exports are increasing faster than the imports. So there are some issues that we'll see. Then finally, LIC nudged to tweak plans to boost profit. Not important article for the examination. EV firms weigh battery swapping impact on innovation. This is a very important article with respect to the innovation, renewable energy, okay, electric vehicles in India. We'll see that thing. Then we have the sports page. Okay, so this is guys the overview of the entire newspaper, and now let's discuss all these relevant articles for the exam one by one in the detail. So let's start with that. Okay, now in every class guys, I give you a GS quotation, and this particular quotation can be used in one of your GS papers, paper 1, 2, 3, 4, or in essays to complement your answers. So today we'll take the quotation from Powell John. So Powell John says, to live fully, we must use things and love people, not love things and use people. Guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the today's society, there is huge materialism that had gripped the minds of the people, and under this materialism, the material worldly possessions are being given more importance, and sometimes the importance that is being given to material possession, it far exceeds than what is actually required, and in that particular capacity, even the people are just being seen in terms of their utility, but that is not the correct thing. It has been provided that in order to live fully, we must use things. We need to give just only the attention that that should be given, not more than that, and we need to love people. Okay, now in this particular capacity guys, we can utilize this quotation for the GS paper number 4, ethics and human interface. Now when we talk about the ethics always promotes the humanism, ethics always promotes the love for the other fellow humans and other fellow creatures. So in this particular capacity, only when we will use things and love people, then it can be realized. So it can be utilized, as well as this quotation can also be used in the essay paper, because you see this thing that from the past 2 years it has been a trend that the philosophical essays are coming. Okay, in this year, the last paper that we got, even both the section A and section B had only the philosophical essays. So when philosophical essays are there, such kind of ideas can be utilized. Okay, so that is all about this particular quotation. And now let's take the first article. The finance minister's call for industrial investment. Now this is the article that we have taken from the text and the context section, and this article is actually guys a important and a good article with respect to the GS paper number 3, State of Indian Economy, GS paper number 3. Let's take the article, what the article is talking about. Now before going in this particular article, I would like to give you a little bit of a background as well as the context, so that you can understand. We'll first see the background as well as the context, so that you can understand that what is the theme of this particular article. So recently what has happened, the finance minister held a meet with certain corporate leaders, and there the finance minister has asked the corporate leaders that they are not increasing the investment. When we talk about Indian economy, the private investment is one of the biggest growth engine for the Indian GDP, and if the private sector will not invest, the job creation will not happen, the GDP growth will not happen. Right now, because of the COVID-19 COVID-19 pandemic, Indian economy is not in very good condition. So therefore, private investment is very important. So the finance minister asked the corporate leaders that why they are not bringing the investment. The finance minister asked the corporate leaders that do you also have to be realized your duties, okay, as Lord Hanuman has to be realized, that the powers of the Lord Hanuman. So in the same way, the private sector, the corporate leaders, do they also need to be realized what their responsibility is? Okay, now in this particular session, the finance minister has also said that government has been pro business, government has been very friendly towards the business, and certain of the examples have also been given, and I'll tell you here. So the finance minister had said that actually the corporate tax has been successively be reduced. Okay, it has been reduced from 30% to 22% for the existing companies, and it has been reduced to 15% from the earlier 25% for the new manufacturing companies. Okay, so the corporate taxes have been reduced successively. Okay, moreover, government or the finance minister also said this thing that government has the slogan of minimum governance, and with this minimum governance, a very light touch regulation is being done onto the corporate sector. Moreover, you see this particular thing, that just one point I will add here more. Guys, we have discussed multiple number of times the production linked incentive scheme, where the government is providing the incentives of 2% to 5% over the incremental sales. Now, what is this incremental sale? Suppose the last year the government sale, the sale of a unit of a manufacturing company was 100 crore. This year it is 150 crore. So 50 crore additional incremental sale. Over this, the 2 to 5% of incentive is being given by the PLI. So government is giving so much of incentives. Government is reducing the corporate tax. Even in the regulation, government is using the mantra of minimum government. Okay, minimum government. So why the corporate sector is not bringing the investment? Okay, so this is something that the corporate sector must do. The corporate sector must do. Now the article, now here guys, just I want to show you some of the data. Now if you see this particular graph here, so guys, this is the index of industrial production, IIP. So IIP was around 7.1% in April, then it increased to 19.6%, then again it came to 12.3, then it has further been reduced to 2.2, 0.8. So basically the index of industrial production, IIP, okay, which tracks the manufacturing sector, etc., it is not performing very much good. Okay, so this is something that has been the issue. After that, in the same line, we further also have the data. So here guys, we have the S&P's purchasing managers index, fine, for the manufacturing sector. Now in this particular index also we find this particular thing, that basically the numbers are not very much encouraging. Okay, they are either stagnant or they are going down, or even if there is an improvement is not very much substantial. Are you getting it or not? Fine. So basically guys, when we talk about the purchasing managers index, PMI, it is a kind of an index which provides that basically it summarizes the market condition. So basically when we talk about the corporate managers, how they view the market, okay, so on that particular basis the PMI is released. So this is the S&P, that is the Standard & Poor purchasing managers index. So if PMI will be high, it means that the manufacturing companies, the corporate managers, they see that there is a further scope for the growth. So the PMI is not very much encouraging, the IIP is not very much encouraging. So here the private sector should they should increase the investment in this particular sector that is being provided. Okay, now guys, however, there is a critique of this particular point, and for that particular thing I will be using this article, and I will be using one more article that was published a few days back in the Hindu newspaper, that is the Hanuman's Leap. Okay, now what is the issue? The issue or the critique that is coming is that, see, capital expenditure by the government is always a precursor to the private investment. Now the government is asking the private sector should invest, and basically it is being compared with the Lord Hanuman's responsibility. But we need to understand that the private sector, now you see, Lord Hanuman had the devotion to the Lord Ram. Okay, because of that particular devotion, the Hanumanji had a responsibility towards the Lord Ram. But private sector doesn't have such devotion to the government. Private sector only looks for the profit, and whenever the profit will be there, when the market sentiment will be there, private sector will bring the investment. Otherwise, the private sector will not bring the investment. So the article is talking about that. See, sometimes there will be certain phases when the private investment is going down. It is because that the private sector's expectations from the market are not very much good. Market sentiments are not very much good. At that point of a time, the government should not wait, should not watch, should not wait. Rather, the government should do more and more investment, and by that particular investment, the market sentiments will improve, and as the market sentiment will improve, then the private sector will also increase their investment. Now guys, understand some of the very basic points. Now you see this thing, that today when we talk about the Indian economy, there are a lot of infrastructural gaps. For example, there are lot of infrastructural gaps with respect to the highways, ports, railways, etc. Because of these infrastructural gaps, many number of times the transportation becomes expensive. Okay, intra-country logistics, intra-country mobility becomes expensive, and it is a very big deterrent to the Indian manufacturing. For example, what government can do? Government can invest into the infrastructural projects, can remove this infrastructural gap. By that particular thing also, there will be the favorable conditions that will be developed, and by that the private sector will get motivated and will try to increase the investment. Now the article is talking about that. See, since 1947, every time when the Indian economy has seen a kind of an upward shift, there was a period before that when the public sector or the government has increased their investment. For example, the 1950s, 1970s and early 2000s, whenever the growth came, before that public sector has actually invested a considerable capital. Now the article says that actually when the government is investing into the infrastructure and such kind of projects, it brings a kind of an enthusiasm in the private sector. Okay, so the article says that the private sector only will invest when they can find the profits. Okay, now in this particular capacity, we have a survey recently that was conducted by the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy. Now the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy says that the consumer sentiment index is still below the pre-pandemic level. Okay, however, though there has been improved in past 12 to 18 months, there is an improvement into the consumer sentiment, but still less than the pre-pandemic level. So therefore, right now the private sector is very much apprehensive and they are not bringing the investment. So therefore, in order to bolster it, the government needs to increase their investment. So that is all guys about this particular article. Now the article is more of an idea based one, and such ideas, such opinions are very important for your mains examination and particularly the interview process as well. So that is about it, and now we'll move to the next article. Amid claims of dirty bomb, Putin surveys nuclear drills. Now guys, this particular article will see what is this concept of dirty bomb. Okay, and what is the implication of this dirty bomb and what are the apprehensions of the Russia. Okay, now we'll see this particular article with respect to the prelims examination. With the prelims examination, such kind of a questions can be asked. In the past also, such kind of things have been there. Okay, so dirty bomb. So recently what has happened? Russia had said that the Ukraine is planning to launch a dirty bomb attack on the Russian cities. And if the dirty bomb attack will be carried by Ukraine on the Russia, then Russia will consider it as a kind of a nuclear attack, and then the Russia will also use the nuclear weapons, nuclear bombs on the Ukraine if such kind of a thing has happened. Now the same thing has been expressed to the India also by the Russian defense minister. Okay, now let's understand that what is this dirty bomb. So basically guys, when we talk about the dirty bomb, see, dirty bomb, it is a bomb that combines the radioactive material with the explosives. For example, RDX. Now RDX, it is an explosive material. It will be mixed with the cesium-137 or it will be fused with the cobalt-60, and that particular bomb will be detonated over a city or over a particular region. Now you see this particular thing, it is not typically a nuclear bomb and its objective is not to fly flatten the city. Its objective is not to carry a lot of destruction. Rather, the objective of the dirty bomb is to spread the radioactive contamination. Radioactive contamination. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that they just aim to spread the toxic waste, so that there is a havoc, there is a distress that is created amongst the civilians, and the cities became inhospitable, the cities became inhabitable. Now you see this particular thing. Suppose guys, now you take some big cities example. Okay, let's take the example of Moscow. Let's take the example of Moscow. Now when we talk about the Moscow is a big city. Okay, it is a big city. It has been a kind of an economic center of the Russia also. Now if a dirty bomb attack is done onto the Moscow, okay, it will not bring an immediate destruction. Moreover, when the dirty bomb attack will be done, the contamination, it will spread slowly, and by the time the contamination will spread and will become fatal, the enforcement agencies, they would have obviously be evacuated all the people, but this entire city of Moscow will become inhabitable for hundreds of years to come. That radioactive waste will spread over the entire Moscow, and then this particular city cannot be used. So now you see that every country has some of the economic centers. It has some of the cities which are the seats of the government. So if they make these entire cities inhabitable, that will lead to a lot of economic loss on that particular country. Okay, so this is the dirty bomb. So guys, a dirty bomb, again I am telling, it is not the bomb such as the bomb that were dropped onto the Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that they will flatten the entire city. No, they are not for that. So they don't create city flattening atomic explosions, but they are designed to spread the toxic waste, okay, and is used to create havoc among the citizens. So the immediate impact would be very much limited. The people could be rehabilitated, the people could be rescued, the people could be relocated to the other places, but then the cities have to be abandoned. Okay, and guys, when we talk about this dirty bomb, a bomb if prepared by using the radioactive cesium might require the evacuation of an entire area, and for the decades that entire city will become unsafe. Okay, so this is something that the Russia has alleged that Ukraine is planning, and if this dirty bomb will be used against the Russia, then Russia will also use the nuclear weapons, and then guys, this war can turn into a nuclear warfare. Now in this particular capacity guys, India happens to be a country which can play an important and a responsible role. The India can negotiate and mediate in this particular process, and need to make sure that this war doesn't turns into a nuclear warfare, because that particular thing will have then the ripple effects. Okay, so this is about this particular article. Fine, so I hope that you have understood it. And the dirty bomb, guys, see this thing, that when such kind of a questions are asked into the prelims examination, the questions are broad based, broad themed. Okay, so please understand all these things. Now moving to the next article. Okay, so the article reads, ISRO to boost Navic widens user base of location system. Now this article also will see with respect to the prelims examination. This article will see with respect to the prelims examination, science and technology, as well as the article will see with respect to the GS paper number 3, again science and technology. Okay, now let's take the article. So first of all, what do we understand by this Navic? I'll give you a little bit of a background, and from the scratch we'll see this particular issue, and then we'll actually be coming to that what this present article is talking about. So first of all, let's take the background. Navic. Okay. Now guys, Navic, it is a name that has been given to the Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, IRNSS. So basically guys, the IRNSS, it is a location tracking system. Now you see this thing. Fine, we have the GPS, global positioning system. Now the GPS, it is the GPS system, it is of USA, and today we use this GPS system for tracking of the food delivery apps, tracking of the food. We use these GPS for finding the locations if we are driving a car. These GPSs are also being used by the cab operators. They have many of the military purposes objectives objectives also. So guys, today these GPS, global positioning system, location tracking systems, they have become very important component of civilian activities as well as military activities. Okay, now guys, when we talk about today, we have the USA's GPS, which right now we are using and many countries are using. Then the European, basically the Europe, basically the European Union, it is having their own system that is called as Galileo. Then Russia is having the GLONASS. Okay, so as Russia, Japan, European Union, America, all they are having the systems to track the locations, India also need to have their own system. And for that particular thing, India has launched the IRNSS, which is also referred to sometimes as Navic. Now, the Navic or IRNSS, it has been developed by the Indian Space Research Organization ISRO along with the Antrix. Now, Antrix, it is a commercial wing of the ISRO. Now, in this particular navigation system, there are actually the 8 satellites that are there. Okay, there are actually the 8 satellites, but out of the 8 satellites, the 7 satellites are functional. So you can also say that it has the 7 satellites which are functional right now. So right now, as the part of the IRNSS, just a minute, so as the part of the IRNSS, there are the 3 satellites that have already been launched. They are into the geostationary orbit. Then there are the, just a minute, so 3 satellites are into the geostationary orbit. The 5 satellites are in inclined geosynchronous orbit. Okay, and now the ISRO is planning that there will be 5 more satellites. There will be 5 more satellites that will be launched. Now they will replace the defunct satellite, the satellite which are now becoming defunct or now approaching the end of their life. Moreover, these additional 5 satellites that are being launched, they will also give a more coverage to the Navic. Now, when we talk about the coverage that is being provided by the Navic or IRNSS, it covers the entire India and the region extending 1500 kilometer beyond the mainland India. Okay, so 1500 kilometer beyond the mainland India. So the immediate neighbors of India, for example, the Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan, they can also use the Navic's location tracking system. Okay, and when we talk about guys, this the Navic, it has the accuracy up to 5 meters, which is better than the accuracy provided by the USA's GPS, and it has many of the uses. For example, it has a terrestrial, aerial and marine navigation. Terrestrial navigation, so if you are driving a car and you want to go to a B place or C place, you can use it for the terrestrial. Aerial, it can be used by the airplanes, aircrafts. Marine navigation, for navigation purposes. It can be used for the disaster management purposes. Is it clear? Now guys, when in an area there is a flood, there is an earthquake, so to take that toll, to take the noting that where there is more destruction, where there is need of immediate rescue and rehabilitation, for that thing also the information can be taken from this particular IRNSS Navic. Then for vehicle tracking and fleet management, okay, vehicle tracking, for example, cab aggregators, transport sector can use for the vehicle tracking. For example, guys, in the DTC there are so many of the buses, so to track these buses, okay, to track their route, even the citizens, consumers can use this particular thing for tracking the transportation sector vehicles. Integration with mobile phone can be there, then it can provide the precise timings. Okay, ATMs and power grids can use it. Map for mapping. Okay, this particular IRNSS and Navic can be used. So guys, these are all the objectives. Now understand this particular thing, that actually when the Kargil war was going on, at that Kargil war, fine, for many of the navigation purposes, we were dependent on to the GPS, okay, of the USA, and at that point of a time, it was in early stages, that was not very much advanced. Okay, but now the question comes is that how basically this reliance if we'll have on the US or on some other country, it will be detrimental to India's strategic interest. So therefore, the Prime Minister in line with the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan had provided that we need to have our own system, and has said that this system, regional navigation satellite system, needs to be used more and more now for the civilian purposes. Is it clear? Now as we will be, though we have developed our own system and will use it, what will happen? It will reduce the dependence on the foreign systems such as the US's GPS. Okay, and the other countries which are economic and strategic significant powers, they all have their own, they have their own positioning system. For example, the European Union, Japan, Russia, China, they have their own regional navigation systems. Fine. Now, basically, in the past, there are the two developments that have happened on this particular scale. There are two developments that had happened on this particular thing. Number one, guys, though we have many of the companies which are manufacturing the mobile phones in India for India, but many of them are giving the GPS or the Google Maps as pre-fitted in that. So, first of all, the Union government has recently asked the tech giants, has asked the mobile manufacturers that they need to make their smartphones compatible with the IRNSS or the homegrown Navic system. Now, on this particular thing, the mobile phone manufacturers have also said that it might lead to the cost escalation, etc. But government had said that no, these devices are needed to be fitted with the capabilities to use the Navic IRNSS. Now, coming to the present news. So, guys, what is the present news? In the present, we find this particular thing that the ISRO is working on the series of improvement to the Navic so that more and more people are motivated to install and use it. Number one, it is trying to bring the global reach capability into the Navic. So today, for example, we have the Google Maps which uses the GPS services. Now there the global search is possible, okay, but in Navic that global search might not be possible. Why? Because it provides the coverage over India and 1500 kilometer beyond the India. So the ISRO is making tweaks in that so that the global reach is also possible. So this is something that is being done here. Fine. So guys, over the years we need to even take more and more steps that actually the Navic becomes a kind of a preferable India's regional navigation system. Guys, you see this particular thing that every technological intervention will be having some bugs, will be having some limitations initially, but these limitations and bugs can only be rectified if more and more people use it and more people give their crucial inputs, okay. And if we will still be dependent onto the GPS, then what will happen? The shortcomings or the bugs that are there into the Navic and all such things, they could not be rectified, okay. And therefore the strategic enhancement and strategic improvement in the Navic system would become difficult. So therefore using it more and more, and in some of the utilities making IRNSS and Navic as a kind of a preferred choice, it is good thing, okay, and should be done. So this is about this particular article. Guys, I hope that you have understood it. And this is a very important article. The Navic issue has been repeated in the past one and a half month twice. So please be very, please look it carefully. Now, moving to the next article. Okay. So this article, it is talking about the battery swapping policy and how the battery swapping policy will have an impact on the innovation in India. Now, this particular issue we'll see with respect to the GS paper number 3, innovation, EV adoption and challenges, with respect to the EV adoption. Okay. Now, before going in this particular article, let me give you some of a background, and after understanding that particular background, we'll go in little bit more detail of this particular article. So basically, guys, we know this particular thing that the carbon emissions, they have become a serious problem for the entire world, and because of the carbon footprint of the entire world is increasing, it is bringing the climate change, okay. Moreover, if you remember, and I have told you this many number of times, that actually in 2021 in the COP, Conference of Party 26, that was held into the Glasgow, India has taken a target that we will become a carbon neutral nation. We will become a carbon neutral nation by 2070. So in order to become the carbon neutral, we need to reduce our emissions, we need to increase the carbon sequestration, carbon absorption. Okay, that is all something that has to be done. Now, when we talk about the carbon emissions or carbon footprint of India, vehicular emission is a big one. So therefore, vehicular emission are needed to be reduced. And in this particular direction, India is promoting that we need to use more and more electric vehicles. we need to use more and more electric vehicles, and for the promotion of electric vehicles, government is also giving subsidies, incentives, and for that particular thing there is a fame scheme that has also been started, and the fame's phase 2 has recently been started. Under the fame, okay, government is providing the incentives for the adoptions of the EVs. Government is pushing forward that into the public transportations, the buses needs to be electric buses. Even the Delhi government has recently introduced a fleet of EV buses, and that EV buses have been given to the Delhi government by the central government under this fame scheme only. So we are pushing a lot in order to adopt more and more electric vehicles. But when we talk about the electric vehicles, there are certain challenges in the electric vehicles, and the biggest challenge is the range limitation. It is the range limitation. So basically guys, they have a limited range. Okay, in certain cases the range, if a standard four-wheeler vehicle, if I tell you, it is the standard range is around 250 to 300 kilometers. Now if it could have been a petrol or a diesel vehicle, we could have refueled that and we would have got a further range. But when we talk about the EVs, charging a battery takes around 6 to 8 hours minimum. Okay, and therefore if a person is planning a long trip, then a person cannot plan a long trip if their range is of only 250 to 300 kilometers. Moreover, after that particular thing, there is another problem that comes, is that basically we don't have charging infrastructure. Is it clear or not? So therefore people are not motivated, they are not incentive, they are not willing to adopt these EV vehicles. Third problem that comes is that, okay, even if the charging infrastructure is provided, there will always be the problem of parking. Now you see, this one petrol pump can cater to hundreds of the vehicles within just 2-3 hours. Okay, because every vehicle will just be stopping there for 30-40 seconds or just 1 minute. But for charging a vehicle, you need to park a vehicle at a place for, let's say, 6 to 8 hours. Okay, so one particular charging station can accommodate 5 to 6 or 7, 10 kind of vehicles at a time. So therefore it is a very big challenge. Now how to solve this particular challenge? So in order to solve this challenge, there is a solution that comes, that is the battery swapping. Now what is the battery swapping? Battery swapping means that simply you will go to a dedicated facility. There will be these particular slots which will have a battery in it. You will just remove the battery of your vehicle, okay, and you will replace that particular battery with a kind of a you can swap that particular battery with a charged battery which can be taken from this particular place. So battery swapping, this entire process will be completed in just 1 or 2 minutes, and it can give a big boost to the adoption of the EV vehicles in India. And in this particular direction, the center government has recently even announced that they will be coming out with the battery swapping policy for 2-wheelers and 3-wheelers in just a month's time. Okay, so center government is coming out with the battery swapping policy for which 2-wheelers as well as the 3-wheelers. Now I had explained you here in the notes itself that what is a battery swapping. Battery swapping is a process where discharged vehicle batteries can be instantly exchanged for a charged unit. Okay, it is expected to tackle many of the challenges. First of all guys, today when we talk about the battery swapping, it can solve the challenge for number 1, for the e-commerce delivery agents. So today e-commerce delivery agents, they have to deliver their parcels and their cargoes, okay, and they could be empowered. Why? Because if there are the battery swapping units at dedicated places, they can just change their batteries and they can travel the longer distances. Okay, moreover, the cost of the fuel will also come down, and I told you that entire battery swapping process can be completed in a minute. So therefore it will eliminate the problem of the parking space that I told you, which was a prerequisite or which was a very big kind of a challenge. So therefore this battery swapping is a kind of a sustainable solutions that could be brought. Okay, but there are certain apprehensions with this battery swapping policies in the corporate sector, and they said that actually it might not be a very smart move or it cannot solve all the problems. So it has been said that, see, the battery swapping can solve the problem up to a certain limit but cannot be a complete solution to push the electric vehicle adoption. Why? Because when we talk about the swapping, then there is a lot of standardization that is needed to be brought. So there is a battery standardization in terms of the size. All the batteries needed to be of same size, all the batteries needed to be of same technology. That is a standardization that is needed to be brought, and this will not be possible in a short span of time. Moreover, if such kind of a standardization will happen, it might not leave any room for innovation, and therefore new investments will not come. Is it clear or not? Now guys, you see this thing that every other day different companies are coming and they are demonstrating their technologies. Okay, for example, today when we talk about the batteries, majority of the batteries are the lithium ion batteries. Okay, tomorrow there can be some change into the structure of the batteries which can make the batteries more efficient. Now if there is a single company in that particular thing, it can do that, but how to bring that particular change at the pan India level? This is a very big problem. Okay, new innovation will not come. Moreover guys, there will be many other issues also. For example, wear and tear. A vehicle, for example, there is a vehicle and its original battery is in a new condition or had a lot of wear and tear. How to manage that particular thing? So these are all the issues that will come in this particular article, in this particular direction. So guys, understand this particular thing, that whenever we talk about such kind of an issues, there will not be only the benefits or only the negatives. There could be the mix of both. Okay, so we need to evaluate them. Okay, and on this particular, all the apprehensions are to be taken and this matter is to be resolved amicably. So this is about it. Very good article and very good insights. I am sure you would have got out of it. Now we'll move to the next article. GEAC gives its nod for commercial cultivation of GM mustard yet again. Okay, now this particular article, it talks about the GM mustard, okay, the hybrid variety of the GM mustard and the approval that has been given. Now this article is very important. This article is very important for the prelims examination, and along with the prelims examination, the article is also very much important for the GS paper number 3, agricultural sector reforms, agricultural sectors, and the technological reforms in the agriculture sector. Fine. Now let's discuss the article as what the article is talking about. So recently guys, what had happened? Recently, Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee, GEAC. Now this is the committee, this committee is under the Union Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and this GEAC, it is responsible for the appraisal of activities which are involving the use of hazardous microorganisms, recombinants, okay, hybrid variety of seeds, okay, genetic modified seeds or genetic modified interventions if they are being taken. GEAC gives the approval for that particular thing, and recently the GEAC has recommended the environmental release of the transgenic hybrid mustard dhara, which is called as DMH11 for the seed production. Now let me explain you this particular thing in very simple kind of words so that you can understand this entire issue. Now guys, first of all, what do we understand by a hybrid crop or a hybrid variety of crop? So understand this particular thing, that the hybridization, it is a process where the plants of the two species, okay, suppose this is the plant number 1, this is the plant number 2, plant number 1, plant number 2. Now this particular plant number 1 and plant number 2 are of same species, but their genetic structure might be different. Okay, the plant number 1 could be a wide variety of wild plant, plant number 2 could be a domesticated plant, so their gene structure will be slightly different, and because their gene pool will be different, they will have their own limitations as well as they have their own benefits. For example, one particular variety could be high yielding, but it might not be resistant to the pests. It might not be able to withstand the differences into the temperature. Okay, a lot of weather anomalies are there. It might not be able to withstand that. Now the other plant, the plant number 1, suppose it is a very hardy kind of a plant, it can withstand the differences in temperature, differences in moisture, but it is not very much productive. The yield might not be very much high. Now there could be a way out, that what we can do, we can cross cross these two plants, okay, and after that we might get a hybrid type of plant, or okay, okay, by having to by having a kind of an asexual reproduction between these two plants, there could be a third variety of seed, a hybrid variety of seeds could be retrieved. Now this hybrid variety of seeds will have the features of both the plants. It will be hardy, it will be resistant to pests, it will be able to withstand the differences in the weather and climate, and at the same time it will be productive also. So this is the hybridization process, okay. So formally I have written here in this write-up also, I will underline it. What is hybridization? It involves crossing two genetically dissimilar plants varieties that can even be from the same species. So genetically different, gene pool will be different, they will be crossed, and the first generation offspring, the seeds or the next generation of plant that will be the offspring, they will have higher yield and they will be having the better capabilities of from either of the parent, okay. This is something that can be done. Now recently what has happened, a hybrid variety of mustard has been developed. Now this hybrid variety of mustard, it is called as DMH11. This hybrid variety of mustard, it is called as the DMH11. Now you see this particular thing, that when we talk about the hybrid crops, these hybrid crops are in development since 1960s, 1970s. So what great has happened with the development of the hybrid variety of mustard? Actually guys, for the mustard plant, developing a hybrid variety was a little bit of a difficult process. How and why? Let's understand this thing. So when we talk about the mustard, okay, its flowers has both the female as well as male reproductive organs. So the female reproductive organ in the plant, it is called as a pistil, and the male reproductive organ in the plant, it is called as a stamen, okay. Now the mustard, it has both male and female reproductive organs, and this makes the mustard plant as self-pollinating, so therefore pollination with the other plant, the crossing it with the other plant becomes a very difficult process, okay. So the eggs of one plant cannot be fertilized by the pollen grain from another. It was a very much limitation. So therefore now this particular limitation has been solved and the DMH11 has been developed. Now I told you that into the hybridization process there will be the two plants that will be crossed with each other. So what are these two plants? So the DMH has been developed by crossing the Indian mustard variety, which is called as Varuna, with the East European mustard variety, which is called as Early Hira 2. Okay, and by the crossing of Varuna and by the crossing of the Early Hira 2, the DMH11 has been developed, and this DMH11, it is being claimed that it has the higher yield, 28% higher yield than the Varuna, okay. And this particular thing has been confirmed by the Indian Council of Agricultural Research in its field trials, okay. Now when we talk about this DMH11, who has developed this? So DMH11, okay, it has been developed by the Center for Genetic Manipulation of Crop Plant at the University of Delhi, okay. So this is about the DMH11 or the Dhara mustard, which is a genetically modified hybrid variety of seeds. Fine. Now I told you that guys, if any such kind of an intervention has been there, then it has to be given an approval. And who gives the approval? Approval is given by the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee, GEAC, which is under the Union Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Now what has happened? Okay, now recently, just I'll erase that and I'll highlight it again. Recently what has happened, the GEAC has recommended the environmental release of this DMH11 for the seed production, and the commercial usage is also being allowed. Now this is guys something which is very much important. Why? Because now the GM mustard will become second GM crop after the GM cotton that is being cultivated at the commercial scale in India. Is it clear or not? So therefore it is very important. Fine. Now This is something that has happened. Now the GEAC has cleared this DMH11 earlier also in 2017. But then what happened? The Ministry of Environment vetoed that particular process. They said that we cannot give it approval now because more field studies, more field trials are to be taken up. So since 2017 to 2022, 5 years have happened and multiple field studies more have been conducted, and now again the GEAC has given the approval for the trials of the DMH11. Okay, so finally it has been given, and now it will become the second the hybrid crop, the second GM crop, fine, genetically modified crop, which will be used on the commercial scale. So that is about it. Very, very important article, guys, for the prelims examination, because in the past such kind of things have been asked. So I will highly insist that you please download this entire PDF and please attach the notes that I had given here in your environment ecology notes as well as in GS paper number 3. Now moving to the next article. Kerala government duel over the minister's talk. Okay, so guys, duel means a kind of a battle or a kind of a combat between the two people, that is duel. Okay, now what's this entire issue? Fine, and first of all, let's discuss that where this article will be important. This article will be important in GS paper number 2, issues of GS paper number 2 polity related issues, as well as in GS paper number 2 in the issues with respect to the federal issues, federal disputes. This article will also be important. So GS paper number 2 polity and governance and federal disputes. Now first of all, before going in this particular article, let me tell you that what's the context of this particular issue. So guys, recently what has happened, the governor of Kerala had taken a decision and has asked the vice chancellor of 11 universities to resign. Okay. Secondly, what it has happened, the governor has also pushed for the removal of the Kerala's finance minister. Okay, now this particular thing is being called as, this particular thing I am highlighting, and please add it in your polity notes. It is being called as unprecedented gubernatorial fiat. Unprecedented. Okay, again I'll highlight it. Unprecedented gubernatorial fiat. Unprecedented means something which is historic, which has never happened in the past. Gubernatorial fiat, it means the order or a decree that has been given by the governor by using his powers. The order that has been given by governor by using his powers. Now, what's this entire issue? Basically, guys, the governor recently had said this particular thing, that if any statement will be made by individual minister that lowers the dignity of the governor's office, then governor can withdraw the pleasure and can suspend that particular member. So it has been said that if any statement will be made, if any speech will be made, or if any words will be used against the governor's office, then the pleasure will be withdrawn. Now, first of all, what has happened recently, the finance minister of Kerala made a address where he had said this thing, that the Kerala's university are democratically governed. Okay, such kind of things might not be known in other parts of the country, particularly the North India. Now that particular thing has been said that okay, it is a kind of a regionalistic statement that has been given, and for that particular thing, governor said that I am withdrawing the pleasure. Fine, I am withdrawing my pleasure, and the finance minister is to be removed. Now we need to study this particular matter with respect to the academic sense, whether the governor saying that he is withdrawing his pleasure is constitutionally sustainable, is it constitutionally allowed or not. Okay. Okay. So whether this particular thing is constitutionally allowed or not. So in this particular direction, we have article number 164 of the Indian Constitution. So article 164 says that simply chief minister shall be appointed by the governor, and other ministers shall also be appointed by the governor, but on the chief minister's advice. And article 164 also mentions that both the chief minister as well as the other ministers will hold the office during the pleasure of the governor. So till the time the pleasure of governor is there, they'll hold office. If pleasure of governor is not there or the pleasure has been withdrawn, they will be removed from their office. But understand this particular thing, that what is the ground? Can governor withdraw the pleasure at his or her own whims and fancies or not? So in this particular capacity, we have seen that into the past, governors have dismissed the chief ministers, okay, and had withdrawn their pleasure. But all of these things have happened when there were the constitutional situations. So the constitutional situation is very simple. Constitutional situation for the CM is like this, that for the matter of CM, the CM can be removed and the pleasure of the governor can be removed, but that can happen only if the chief minister is not able to prove the majority in the house. And whether the chief minister has the majority into the house, yes or no, that particular thing is to be tested onto the floor of the house. Okay, this is something that has been there, and in multiple judgments, the Supreme Court has also provided that whether the chief minister is having majority or not, it can be answered only onto the floor of the legislature through the confidence vote. So the confidence vote is to be floated, and if the members of the house vote in support of the chief minister, then it will prove that the chief minister is still having the majority in the house, and then the governor cannot withdraw the pleasure. So chief minister, the pleasure from the chief minister can only be withdrawn when the majority is not there. Okay, and the pleasure from the other ministers can also be only withdrawn when the chief minister and the council of ministers recommend that particular thing. So governor's pleasure is not is dependent onto the aid and advice. That is something that has been provided. So therefore the doctrine of pleasure exists only into the constitutional sense, okay, and is needed to be used by governor only onto the advice of the chief minister. So this power cannot be used independently by the governor. But into the case of the Kerala, chief minister alleges this particular thing, and this particular thing is being said that even chief minister has not recommended, but governor is becoming over adventurous, governor is becoming over zealous with respect to his duty and the pleasure of the governor. So this is something which is constitutionally should not have happened. So this is, guys, all about this particular article. Now the article, it is little bit or more 90% of a kind of a political tone in the articles that is being provided, but that political tone is not important for our exam. We need to see in academic sense that what it entails. So that is all about this particular article, and now we'll move to the next article. Okay, now this particular article, it talks about making sense of an outreach to Pasmanda Muslims. Okay, this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, social justice. Within the social justice, guys, there is actually the vulnerable section of society. There is the vulnerable section of society, and in the vulnerable section of society, with respect to the issues concerning the minority, we'll see this article. Okay, now let's understand this thing. What the article is talking about? The article is talking about a recent issue where the prime minister has asked the party members that they should make an outreach program to reach to the deprived minority groups such as the Pasmanda Muslims. Okay, now this thing is being called as, it is a kind of an electoral it is a kind of an electoral thing that has been done, but we need to understand this entire concept of backwardness into the minorities, particularly into the Muslims. Now see this particular thing, guys, that when we talk about the backwardness into the Hindus, it has been taken a due cognizance. For example, within the Hindus, okay, there are the scheduled caste people. Now scheduled caste people are the ones with whom historical injustices have happened. Okay, then guys, even we have the classification by the name of OBCs, other backward class. Now when we talk about the OBCs, understand the OBC extends beyond the Hindus also. But guys, majority of the people who have been brought into the OBC, they are onto the basis of caste. Okay, fine. Again, I am telling, the OBCs extend to other religions or minorities also, but largely maximum of the inclusion into the OBC that has happened, it is onto the basis of caste, and caste as a feature has existed in Hinduism. So it has been provided that traditionally the people within the Islam, their backwardness has not been given that much of attention. So it is being said that basically when we talk about the caste system, traditionally it existed into the Hindus, but it is not acknowledged under the Islam. Now when we talk about the Muslim community, Indian Muslim community, it is divided in three groups. It is divided in three groups. So there are, number one, the Ashrafs. Now Ashrafs are the elite people within the Muslims. Okay, so Ashrafs are the elite people within the Muslims. Then there are the Ajlaf. Ajlaf are the backward class within the Muslims, and then there are the Arzal. Arzal are the most backward class. So there are the Ashraf, which are elite, then there are the Ajlaf, that are the backward, and then there are the Arzal, which are the most backward. Now as per the demographic studies, as per the estimates, Ashrafs, they have 15 to 20% of the Muslim population. Now these two groups, okay, I'll just use a different pen, that is the blue color pen. Now you see this thing, this group Ajlaf and Arzal, Ajlaf and Arzal, both they are called as Pasmandas. Both of them are called as Pasmandas. Pasmandas means the people who have been left out, or the people who are marginalized. So Pasmanda, it is a collective term for Ajlaf and Arzal, and the Pasmanda Muslims, they constitute around 80 to 85% of the population. And these peoples, they have been given some traditional certain of the occupations which have been equated with only with the backward people. For example, the occupation of barber, weaver, potter, okay, fine, okay, and the fakirs are also from the Pasmanda community. Now the article is talking about that up till now, the development within the Muslims that had happened, it has happened majorly for the Ashraf community members only. Okay, for the Ashrafs only the development has happened, and up till now the Pasmanda Muslims have not been taken in consideration. Okay, they are working in unorganized sector, and their working conditions are very petty. So today when we talk about the concept of Pasmandas, Pasmanda, it is not a caste. Understand this thing, Pasmanda is not a caste, but it is a class. It is a class which is representative of backward and subjugated people in the Muslim community. Now as the Prime Minister had said that an outreach group is being created which will reach to the Pasmanda Muslims. Now on one hand it is being called as an electoral thing, because I told you that 80 to 85% of the people are the Pasmanda Muslims. So it is being provided that it is a kind of an electoral thing, but on to the other hand, positively it is a kind of a good initiative also that has been taken by the government. For example, number one, it highlights the anomalies of political underrepresentation of deprived groups. Okay, so when we talk about the underrepresentation and when we talk about the anomalies, the differences, the inequalities, that thing has not been considered up till now. Second thing is that it brings the issue related to their development at the forefront. Okay, so the development is now being focused, which is transcending beyond the religion that is happening. Okay, so basically the Prime Minister at multiple number of times have said that Muslim community is to be empowered, and in 2020 also the Prime Minister said that Muslim community is to be empowered, and basically the empowerment of Muslims can happen if there is women's education, economic independence, entrepreneurship, employment. All these particular things are essential, and now these things are being promoted. Moreover, the government's sabka saath, sabka vikas, sabka vishwas and sabka prayas can be reflected in this particular step that has now been asked by the Prime Minister. And finally guys, it is being also very important because finally it has been said that within the party the accommodation of religious diversity is now being given more importance, and it is very important thing for a national party, for the democracy. In a democracy, development of all the group is essential, and now that is being taken up. So this is a good development. Fine, so that is all about this particular article guys. I hope that you have understood this particular thing. Okay, so this is all about it. Fine, and now we'll moving to the next article. Improving access to entertainment content. Improving access to entertainment content. Fine. Now this particular article again we'll see with respect to GS paper number 2, social justice. Within the social justice, disabled people. Okay, now this particular article is giving a kind of a different dimension. This article is giving a kind of a different dimension on the issues of limitations that the disabled people face. Now when we talk about the disabled people, guys, understand this particular thing, that as per the census of 2011, see 2021 census has not been conducted. So as per the census of 2011, around 2% of the population in India, it is composed of the disabled people. Now that people, they have different disabilities, Sometimes there are the physical disabilities, sometimes there are the cognitive disabilities. And one additional point I want to give you for the development of the disabled people, and in order to make sure that there is no discrimination with the disabled people, we also have we have also signed the International Convention onto the Rights of Person with Disabilities. Okay, International Convention on the Rights of Person with the Disabilities. And secondly, we also have 2016 Right of Person with Disabilities Act, Right of Person with Disabilities Act 2016. Okay, now when we talk about the disability, the issue that comes here is that basically physical disability, cognitive disability, it has been addressed, and the physical limitation that comes by the disability, they are being addressed. But guys, what about the limitations that the entertainment content is not designed keeping in mind the need of the disabled people? It has been said that today when we talk about the entertainment, movies, serials, OTT series, okay, they can be made disabled friendly if there are two components that are there. Number one, there needs to be the audio description, and secondly, there needs to be the subtitling. Now, first of all, what is this audio description? Now guys, the audio description is like this. Suppose I'm just giving you a hypothetical situation. Suppose there is a scene, okay, and in this scene, let's say that there is an actor that is sitting into the room, and another actor enters into the room. Okay, if you can see, you'll see that okay, another actor is entering into the room, but the person who cannot see, who are visually disabled, how they'll know that thing? So there will be an audio description that will come at this point. Some person will narrate from the background that Mr. X has now entered into the room, Mr. X has now sat down, okay, or Mr. X is now doing this. So they will be telling that what the people are doing there. That is called as the audio description. Okay, so this audio description, it can be enabled, it could be disabled. Now question is that audio description option needs to be there into these pictures, into these programs, so that if a visually disabled person is seeing that particular picture or that particular series, they can enable and they can understand that what is going on there. And the next is the subtitling. When the people who have some hearing limitations, okay, now how these people will watch the TV? So there needs to be the subtitle for such people. Moreover guys, many number of times certain movies are being made in one language, and how the people who don't understand that language, they'll understand that particular thing, so they will help to that people also. But majorly subtitling will benefit the people who have some kind of a hearing disability. So the audio description and subtitling is the intervention which can make the entertainment content disabled friendly. But in India, these kind of things have been untapped, they have been ignored. Now I told you already that we have the Right of Person with Disabilities Act, and this particular act came in 2016. Guys, understand, before this we have the Right of Person with Disabilities 1995 Act. Okay, but since then we have signed the International Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and many of the frameworks. For example, Incheon framework we signed, okay, inclusive developmental goals under the Incheon framework we have signed. So we came with the new act, that is the Right of Person with the Disabilities Act, and it provides the remedy to all these particular issues. It provides that government needs to take the efforts so that the person with hearing impairments can have access to television programs. So either there need to be the sign language interpretation, or if sign language is not possible, there needs to be the mandatory subtitles in that particular thing. Okay, so this is something that has been there, but guys, up till now that thing has not been properly implemented. In this particular capacity, there is actually a 2019 I&B ministries guidelines also. So the Union Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, they issue a letter to the Central Board for Film Certification, CBFC, and they asked that the filmmakers, okay, the serial makers, they need to they should be motivated, they should be persuaded that they provide the audio description fine in the film. Okay, but up till now that has not happened. So what should be the way forward? What should be done in this particular direction? The way forward is something like this. Fine, what should be the way forward? Way forward is something like this, that number one, a critical mass of users should put pressure onto the platforms to provide the audio description and subtitling. Okay, this particular thing has been ignored, okay, and by that particular thing, the people with the disabilities, they have been deprived. So the people needs to put the pressure. They needs to raise such kind of demands. I told you guys here, if you remember, that the disabled people, they have just a 2% population. So they are kind of a very kind of a minuscule minority. So they might not be able to bring a big impact. Next thing is that basically we needed to sensitize the filmmakers and capacity building initiatives needed to be brought. Find the sensitization is very much important. They need to be more sensitive. They need to be made more responsible. And the third that comes is that the civil society groups, they should approach the courts and with the legal guarantees. By approaching the courts, a kind of a legal mandate is needed to be brought onto these filmmakers, onto these serial makers, so that such kind of audio descriptions or subtitles are being made accessible, they are being provided. So that is all guys about this particular issue. I hope that you have understood it. So this is a kind of very different kind of a take, a kind of a very fresh perspective that has been taken onto the problems that the disabled people are facing. So guys, we were majorly always fixated onto the accessibility problem that the disabled people will face with respect to the accessibility of the transportation, accessibility of the public buildings, but the accessibility of entertainment is also very much important, because when we talk about humans are the social creatures, okay, and entertainment etc becomes an important component of their existence. So that is about it, and now we'll move to the next article. Now, Mule Pariyar, panel to ready emergency action plan. Okay, now the article, it is talking about an emergency action plan and an expert committee that has been constituted. Now you see this particular thing, that we don't need to track the nitty-gritties of this particular development, but we need to understand this entire issue as a whole, that what has happened. Okay, so guys, we'll see this particular issue with respect to GS paper number 2, federal issues. GS paper number 2, federal issues. Within the federal issues, interstate, within interstate disputes, we'll see this particular issue. Now guys, when we talk about the interstate disputes, river water sharing, boundary disputes, they are a very big issue that is there, and often it brings the disputes between the states. Okay, now the Mule Pariyar Dam controversy, it is a big irritant between the state of Kerala and Tamil Nadu, which has existed for more than 40 years now. So what is this Mule Pariyar Dam controversy? And after understanding this dam controversy, we'll see that what has happened now. Okay, so I'll start this particular entire issue from the scratch, so that if you don't know, you'll understand this. Now, the Mule Pariyar Dam, it is a dam which is more than 123-year old. So now it is nearly, now it is actually more than that. So a very old dam. Now this particular dam, it is located onto the confluence of the two rivers, that is the Mulayar River and Pariyar River. Now on the confluence of Mulayar and Periyar River, the Mule Pariyar Dam is there. Now first of all, when we talk about the Periyar River, guys, this river is called as the lifeline of Kerala, and it is the longest river of Kerala, Periyar river. Now this dam, it is actually located into the Kerala's Idukki district, but this particular dam is actually being operated as well as it is maintained by Tamil Nadu for meeting the drinking water and irrigation needs for 5 of its southern districts. Now, this particular dam was, guys, actually developed during the time of the Britishers, and at that point of a time, 999-year lease was given to the Tamil Nadu, and the dam has been handed over to the Tamil Nadu. So the situation is this, that actually the dam is located in Kerala, but it is being maintained by Tamil Nadu, it is owned by Tamil Nadu, and the water is being used for meeting the water needs of Tamil Nadu's southern districts. Now, over the past few years, particularly after the 1979, there is a controversy that has come again and again, and the controversy is with respect to the structural stability of this particular dam. Now, the Kerala has often said this particular thing, that this dam is more than 120 years plus, and there are certain cracks that have been there in this particular dam, and there might be a dam failure if there is an earthquake. Moreover, the amount of water that is being stored into this particular dam, it might lead to the generation of the seismic waves, which will further ignite the earthquake. Moreover, it has been provided, guys, if you just remember, in 2018 there was the devastating floods that came into the Kerala. Even the last year and this year there were certain flooding activities that happened into the Kerala. So Kerala is very much apprehensive that if this big dam got failed there, then the entire district of Idukki and the surrounding regions will get affected. So they want that this dam is to be decommissioned, and in this particular place a new dam should be built. Now, who will decommission, who will build the dam, and who will face the water loss and economic loss? It is the Tamil Nadu. So Tamil Nadu had said that rather than decommissioning and building a new dam, we can carry certain structural repairs to this particular dam. Now, in 2006 and 2014, fine, this matter has been dealt into the Supreme Court also, and Supreme Court had said that the water level in this particular dam can be reduced. Okay, so the Supreme Court has provided that water is to be stored up till 142 feet. Now guys, see, the capacity of this particular dam is to store the water till 152 feet, but Supreme Court said that it is to be reduced to 142 feet. Now, at the same time in 2014, the Supreme Court also provided that a supervisory committee needs to be created for this Mullaperiyar Dam, which will see that whether all the safety norms are being followed or not, whether the regular inspection is being done, all the required repairs they are being made or not. Okay, so all such kind of a things are to be taken over by this supervisory committee. Now, over the years, as I told you that the flooding of 2018 happened and such kind of an issues, and into the past there are certain landslides also that happened into the Kerala. So Kerala says this thing that now the level of water is needed to be reduced even lower, that is to 130 feet. Now, Tamil Nadu has an objection with this particular thing, because I told you that the southern districts, I told you that the 5 of its southern districts are dependent onto the water drawn from the Mullaperiyar Dam. So Tamil Nadu says that there will be the water shortages that will happen, and Tamil Nadu is not ready for that. So because of it, the tussle is going on between the Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Moreover, often it has been the case that the Tamil Nadu released the water when there was an excess water in this particular dam, and as the water was released, the Kerala had said that that could have brought the flooding into the Idukki. So this is the issue that is going on. Now, in the meanwhile, there have also been the apprehensions from the Kerala. Kerala says that the supervisory committee, I told you the supervisory committee that was ordered by the Supreme Court in 2014. This supervisory committee had become lethargical. They are not doing the safety inspections and the survey of the dam at regular intervals. This is also the issue. Now, guys, what happened? This particular year, Supreme Court, it specifically provided that there should be a technical committee that is to be created. Okay, now finally what has happened, the Kerala government has constituted this technical committee. Now, what is this technical committee? So this technical committee will prepare an emergency action plan for the downstream part of the Mullaperiyar Dam. Now you see this particular thing, guys, last year, and we have discussed this act also in one of our video. So the Dam Safety Act 2021 was notified. Now the Dam Safety Act 2021 provides that for every major dam in India, there needs to be an emergency action plan. That what is to be done in case of a dam failure, what is to be done if there are some kind of a structural defects that come into the dam. So as per the Dam Safety Act 2021, emergency action plan for every dam is to be prepared. And now to prepare such emergency action plan for the Mullaperiyar Dam, the Kerala government has constituted the technical committee. Is it clear? And it will prepare this this emergency action plan guidelines. Now these guidelines have been issued. I told you, under the Water Safety Act 2021 by the CWC, Central Water Commission. So this is something that has happened. So guys, the issue reported in this article is just of one line. But to understand that one line, we need to have the understanding of the background as what has happened in the past. So that is all about this particular issue. I hope that you have understood it, and now we'll move to the next article. Okay. India's imports from China surged to record high in the first 9 months of the year. Okay. Now, guys, this particular article will see with respect to the India's external sector. Moreover, this particular article will see with respect to the India-China trade relations. Okay. Now, see this particular thing. First of all, I would like to remind you that in the yesterday's newspaper analysis, we have taken the government data, the data which has been provided by the Ministry of Commerce, and the Ministry of Commerce provided this particular thing that over the past 7 years, that is from 2015 to 2021, 2015 to 2021, India's imports have increased, but India's exports have increased more. India's exports have increased more to the China. Okay, we have taken some data into the yesterday's newspaper analysis. Just for a reference, I am telling you, but it doesn't has any connection from this article. Now let's understand that what this article is talking about. So actually, guys, the article is talking about that the India's imports from China, they have increased substantially. India's imports from China, they have increased substantially. 31% increase has been there for the first 9 months that have ended in the September. And the two-way trade, that is a trade between the India and China, it has crossed the $100 billion. $100 billion. So more than $100 billion trade have happened. But understand that India, it is at a receiving end. India imported more and exported less. It has been said that actually India imported the goods and services worth $89.66. So let's say $90, $90 billion. $90 billion worth of imports we have made from the China in the first 9 months, and actually it has crossed the $68.5 billion fine, which was the record for 2021. Okay, it has been said that this is the year when we have made the record imports from the China. So in the first 9 months this year, the records are the imports are highest, and at the same time exports are low. The exports that we are making to China, these exports are low. So if we see the export performance in the first 9 months, the export performance is 36.4% less. The export performance is 36.4%, just $13.97 billion of export we have made. So what has happened? The import have increased. Okay, how much? Import have increased by 31%, and at the same time, okay, just a minute. So imports have increased by 31%, and at the same time the exports have declined. Exports have declined by 36.4%. So therefore the differential that is coming in between, it is huge. Why it is huge? Because on one front we have on import front it has increased, on export front it has decreased. So differential is huge. Now in this particular direction, guys, further more data is being provided. It is being said that in 2021, trade between the India and China crossed $100 billion for the first time, and it reached at $125.6 billion. Now this particular year the trade will cross even the 2021 limit, and it will go beyond than $125. And as we are importing more, exporting less, what is happening? There is a trade deficit that will be there, and this trade deficit might be the highest trade deficit between the India and China that we have seen. Now when we talk about the imports of India from the China, the major imports are machinery goods, intermediate goods, APIs, fine, active pharmaceutical ingredients, APIs. Now the APIs are the basic salts that are used in most of the medicines. Okay, so the APIs, they have been very much high. Okay, so actually our reliance onto the China has increased a lot. Okay, now when we talk about the exports, when we talk about the India and the China relations, the import that India is making, okay, the growth in exports to India for the China was among the highest for the China's major trading partners. So we are the highest importer from the China. Now this particular thing is problematic because guys, in 2020 we came with the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, and under the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan 2020 it was provided that the reliance from the China is needed to be reduced, but rather than reducing that particular reliance, the reliance has rather increased over the past few years. So in this particular direction, government needs to identify the major reasons that why the imports have increased and exports has become stagnant. Now guys, you see this thing that basically in order to rectify that particular thing, we are already running the production linked incentive scheme, where we are incentivizing that foreign players that they should come and they start manufacturing facilities in India, so that our reliance on to the imports is reduced. Moreover, when we will have the manufacturing capabilities in electronics and all such kind of sectors, that goods we can export also. Okay, so our exports will increase, our import reliance will reduce if we will go forward with the production linked incentive scheme. So this is something that can solve the problem. Then at the same time, the problem can be solved by multiple other things also. For example, dedicated attention is needed to be given on the revival of the service sector. Okay, so this is all which has been provided, which we can give as a value addition in this particular component. So that is all guys about this particular article. Okay, now you see this thing, you don't need to get too much fixated onto the hairline data, but the broad data that we have discussed here, you should be knowing that. Now we'll move to the mains practice question for today. So the mains practice question for today, it is from the GS paper number 3. It says, genetically modified crop footprint in India is all set to grow once the government gives its final nod to the GM mustard. In this context, discuss the argument in favor and against the GM crop. Okay, so this is a 10 marker question for GS paper number 3. Okay, so you can attempt it and you can try to generate the points that you will get out of that. Okay, so guys, that is all about it. I hope that you have understood it, and actually I'm deciding that what we can do, we can create a kind of a dedicated group on the Telegram where you can write your questions and you can upload your questions. Okay, so guys, that will be a peer reviewed group. Again, I'm repeating, that will be a peer reviewed group where you can download your where you can upload your answers and you can discuss within the fellow aspirants. They can discuss with each other, they can review, and moreover, the one thing is that even if you don't review that, when you'll see the 10 answers written by others, you'll get the multiple points. Okay, so at the same time, you also need to contribute in that. So if you want that we should create a kind of a such peer reviewed group, so do let me know into the comments. Okay, so if we get a response on that, we'll consider doing that also. So that is all about the today's discussion, and guys, with this we come to an end. I hope that you have understood it, and if you have liked the video and if you think that the video has helped you in your preparation, you can hit the like button. You can always leave your lovely comments, as they are the ones which encourage us to continue in this direction. So that is all for today. Thank you so much. Take care of yourselves. Now we'll be meeting tomorrow. Thank you.